All right, it is story time. We are going to go over the origins of my education company that does over 10 million in revenue, Lift Enrichment. I'm Eric Horowitz. I'm the owner of Lift Enrichment, and this is a story I've told many, many times, but never on camera. So I'm going to go and answer the question, why and how did I start this company that is so niched, so unique, has hundreds of different staff members, has an internal team of people all over the world. And I got my notes here on this gloomy, rainy day in Warsaw. So let's get started. So the first thing I want to go over is we're going to go back in time to 2000. So 2000s is when I was a teenager living in Southern California in the city of Ventura, which is about an hour from Los Angeles. And this is where I started working with kids for the first time. I found that I was good at it. They liked my energy. I liked their energy. I like when you teach kids, it just didn't feel like a job, you know? I worked as a summer camp counselor at my local temple for for several months. I would work as a babysitter I had a younger brother who was 8 years younger, so I would babysit his friends and be a babysitter for hire. And I just enjoyed it. I enjoyed group activities. It felt like play. And I've always kind of felt that. And people who like working with kids report the same thing. And their energy, their enthusiasm, the way they look at life, and their ability to be in the present moment, it's contagious. So you either like working with kids or you don't. And you can just kind of tell who is good and naturally inclined for that. So yeah, throughout my teenage years, I just worked a lot with kids. So I was good at it. It was a good part-time job. It was more fun than things like working at the local grocery store as a bagger. That job was just not fun. But summer camp counselor at the temple, had a good time. Got to use my imagination, my creativity, my energy to create activities and workshops that would entertain the campers. Now we're going to move forward to Italy. So I went to college at UCLA, the University of California, Los Angeles, and there I had the chance to study abroad. So I was undeclared, and I liked writing, I liked journalism, I thought I'd be a journalist. And this is funny because this is in 2006 when journalism was not a good choice for a career because the internet and blogs and people weren't reading newspapers anymore. It was going downhill. And that was back then. Even now, it's way, way, way more so. But I liked writing and so I had a degree in literature and I had to take a foreign language requirement. So on a whim, even though I'm not Italian at all, my background is Russian, Ukrainian, a bit Polish, raised in America, raised Jewish, I took Italian, and I actually really enjoyed speaking Italian language. It's not practical at all. Remember, California is close to Mexico. Spanish is a useful language to study, not Italian. So I started taking Italian 1 and had a good time because almost like the way that summer camps were interactive, an Italian language class is interactive. It's about 20 students. We would meet every day for 1 hour, like 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., Monday to Friday. So you really got to know the people that you were in the class with. And it was way more fun than my literature classes where we were studying Chaucer and Shakespeare. And I was one of 300 students in a lecture hall, and we just all fell asleep by the 2 or 3 hour mark. It was just very flat, not my type of learning, but this group environment, interactive, talking, that's what I liked. And so I just kept taking Italian 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now, let's have a little side note about cooking. So I never cooked most of my life. My mom, she was the one in charge of feeding me and my 2 younger brothers. And, she did her best. We would get salads with the pre-made salad dressing, the roasted chicken from the grocery store, some things from Trader Joe's. One night a week was fast food night. We'd do Taco Bell or Burger King. But she wasn't passionate about cooking from scratch. It was just more of like, hey, I got to feed my kids something healthy. Let's do this, and let's reheat some frozen vegetables, put the salad with the dressing on it that's in the bottle. And my grandma on my dad's side, she actually did enjoy cooking. I mean, she was a housewife in the 50s and that's what you did. And her cooking was very 1950s. We're talking like cream of tomato soup, cream of mushroom soup, cans of tuna, pasta, and cheese. So not the healthiest stuff. And the stuff that even nowadays, I wouldn't even eat that much because it's very, very caloric. And it's a bit processed and stuff. But the joke is she has so many cans of food like in this cupboard, and her freezer is full of pre-made foods that if like all the power went out, you go to grandma's house because you would survive for a long time because she had so much food. But she did like cooking. She put in effort, and I always associate kind of her with cooking, but I didn't learn from her. I learned a couple recipes, but not much. So how did I get into cooking? So I am now in my third year of college, and it's 2006, and I say, you know what? We took 2 years of Italian, let's go to Italy. So I studied abroad in the city, in 2 different cities. The first city was Trento, which is in like northwestern Italy in the mountains of the Trentino Mountains. And it was September, it was getting cold, but man, my experience living abroad, being in Italy, being around European people, international people, it was absolutely incredible. We had a shared apartment. Oh God, I remember this apartment. It was 6 guys, 4 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and a kitchen. And there were 2 people in a room sometimes, and we would kind of cook. I cooked basic things, boiled this, boiled that, added sauces. But my mom sent me a care package with some stuff in it, and it had a cookbook, actually a pivotal cookbook called Jamie Oliver's Italy. And this book, it's written in a very fun, easygoing style. Instead of like exact amounts, it's like a handful of basil, very Jamie Oliver, or a pinch of this. And like the way he wrote the recipes were very kind of easy to follow. The pictures were gorgeous. And I still have this cookbook over 20 years later. I still bring it. It's the one book that, when you travel, you decide what books you're gonna keep and which ones you're not. This one I kept, and I still have it. And I remember one day, I was like, I'm gonna cook for my friends, and I don't know why or how. We'd always try to cook food for each other, and I decided to choose 2 pages of recipes, and they were very hard. I was gonna make risotto bianco and swordfish. Swordfish is not an easy recipe, not an easy protein to cook, and I just followed the instructions. And I remember the risotto, you have to add broth and then stir, then add broth and stir. The recipe said it would take 30 minutes, and it ended up taking, like 45, 50 minutes or something. But I remember this, when I served the risotto and I served the swordfish, my friends were so happy, so impressed. I felt so good. I had like literally nourished people that I cared about. I had followed the recipe and the results were amazing. People were happy and excited. And it's a really, I always call cooking like instant gratification in a good way. You're hungry, I'm hungry, I buy ingredients, I cook something, you're super happy, I feel good afterwards. It's a win for everybody. So in Italy, I started cooking, and it accelerated more so when I lived with an Italian mom. So I stayed for about 4.5, 5 months in Trento. I remember I called my mom, and I was like, and it was my 4th year of college. I was almost done. I was like, I'm just getting the hang of this culture, this language. I think I should stay another semester. And so I did. She agreed to it, which is awesome. And I was able to spend the next semester from January until June in Italy, but I transferred to a different city called Padova, which is near northeastern Italy, about 45 minutes from Venice. It's a beautiful, beautiful city, about medium size and full of incredible piazzas and life and restaurants. And there I did a homestay. So instead of living with a bunch of Erasmus study abroad students, I lived with an Italian family. And the mother's name was Simonetta Valeriani. She had 2 daughters, Mariana and Margarita. The husband they were divorced, so he wasn't in the picture, and me. And remember, I grew up with 2 brothers, a dad and a mom, so it was all guys. And now this is all women, and they're speaking Italian, and they're super fast speaking at the dinner table. And Simonetta was amazing. She made the most amazing pasta carbonara and meat dishes and vegetables, and lived to be a mom, lived and enjoyed cooking, taking care of you. There's actually an Italian phrase called mammone. Mamone means mama's boy because the Italian men, and I've literally talked to women who have verified this, they live at home until their 30s because mom treats you like a king. When you're with Simonetta, you don't do your laundry. You get delicious food 3 times a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You never do dishes. It is incredible. So Simonetta taught me how to make pasta carbonara. I'd watch her, I'd study her. I wouldn't cook that much that season because I didn't have to. I lived with this amazing woman who, and she was from Rome, so she was very warm and open. But that really inspired me to learn cooking. I had my first Italian girlfriend at the time, and I think the love for Europe was cemented in my life forever. And to this day, I live in Europe, a significant part of the year. So after that experience, I came back and I finished my schooling and I lived in an apartment, and I kind of learned, and I'm sure a lot of guys can relate to this, like LA is expensive. And if you're single, going on dates is also expensive. I remember a cocktail costing $15, $20 at nice restaurants, nice cocktail lounges, and I didn't earn much money. I worked in public relations I would help promote like small independent films, and my salary was like, I don't know, like $22,500 a month, but after taxes it was even lower. My rent was like $700 a month, and like there wasn't much to work with at the end. So cooking was kind of a necessity. I didn't have the money to go out all the time, and I kind of learned that if you cook on a second date or a third date, it's attractive. 2, you're in the comfort of your home, and you can give that experience of a nice meal, but make it yourself because you just didn't have the money. You can't go to restaurants. And even now, when I can afford any restaurant I want, I still like cooking at home. I just did it like literally on a date not that long ago, and it was just fun and enjoyable, and you kind of rip basil and grate cheese. I don't know, I love cooking. So in that time of my life, I was cooking out of necessity. So we have kind of the seeds of the company. We have Eric's passion for cooking. He enjoys teaching and working with kids. And the first corporate job, that PR job, I did for about 6 months and hated it. I worked from 9 to 5. You have to wear business casual. I didn't like the environment. I didn't like the vibrant, like overhead fluorescent lighting, and commuting, it was just awful. And I ended up getting a job through connections at UCLA. So side tangent, I did a program called Unit Camp at UCLA, which was a volunteer program where students create and fundraise for 3 months this 1-week camp experience for low-income teens and preteens in Los Angeles to go to the woods in the San Bernardino Forest and live in like a summer camp set up with like cabins and archery and, arts and crafts and a pool and games and all that stuff. So I did that. I really liked the people there. They're super passionate. One of my best friends I met from that many, many years ago. And Unit Camp was just I didn't know it was my little side thing, but it became the main thing. And a friend of mine from Unit Camp got me a job working at a private elementary school in Santa Monica with actually a lot of quite famous actors and actresses as the parents and people who run Hollywood. That's kind of the scene in Los Angeles. Like kids will be like, yeah, my parents won an Oscar. I'm like, what? And I look up, it's like film editing or something. So I ended up working at this private school, and every Wednesday, we worked from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. I made, I think, $20 an hour or something, which was a lot at the time. Or maybe it was 15, I forget. But every Wednesday was cooking. And I started cooking with the kids. I would take the recipes from my cookbooks, and we made this delicious baked pasta. We'd make meatballs. We'd make all sorts of dishes, mostly Italian. I saw they really liked it, and it was fun, and it was engaging. We had this whole kitchen. It was a really fun group experience. So this was in 2008. One of the dads at the school, I was good friends with the kids and all that, hired me to be a teacher at his enrichment studio. I think it was called the Ideas Studio. It's not around anymore. And it was a location in Pacific Palisades where you would drop off your kid for a 1-hour after-school class with a variety of subjects. And during the summer, there were long summer camps. It had like a jungle gym. It had an area to play. It had a lot of cool things going for it. And I just started doing everything. I would literally teach drama. I taught entrepreneurship with making a lemonade stand. But I was most famous, I would say, for Lego robotics, these robotic sets that you build and they're Legos, and you can make like a man that walks. You can make a tank that shoots a ball at a target. You can make an alligator that crawls, a humanoid. Really cool things with these sets. And it was, again, a 1 hour class, say 3:15 to 4:15. So school ends at 3, drop your kid off, sign up for a 10-week program. That was the model. And I did this for a long time. And there was always something interesting about this kind of setup, which was, one, the parents had to drop off the kids on time, and then an hour is not enough time to really do anything. It's kind of like, especially in LA, you got to drive somewhere. You don't really have time to even go to the grocery store quickly and come back. So I always thought like it's kind of hard for the parents to like drop the kids off and then, go do something for 30 minutes, then come back, or they'd sign up for 2 classes back to back, a 3:15, then a 4:15 class. We did birthday parties as well. We did a lot of stuff there. And the other thing that was kind of odd was I noticed the owners, one was a guy who was known for production for commercials, like he built sets. The other guy was a NASA engineer. And this was their side gig that didn't really make much money. It was more of a drain, and their actual other jobs made them their wealth and their money so they could live in, obviously, Pacific Palisades, and they were successful. But one thing that kind of I thought was strange was the owners didn't really know how to do the thing that they were selling. They never taught a class. They didn't really know how it's done. They just kind of created this thing and hired people to do it. I thought that was so strange. Like if I was the owner of a company, I would want to know exactly how to do that service, or exactly how to, teach people from experience. So in around 2009, I said, you know what? I wonder if we could just reach out to local schools, local private schools, and offer this type of class, but teach it at the site because it's more convenient for the parents. This is what private schools do. They collect these vendors that will teach a 1 hour class, and they say, look, you charge the parents, and there are 2 models. Either the parents paid the school and the school paid me per kid, or they just signed up directly with me and maybe the school would get 10% or something. But the schools weren't trying to make money from it because the advantage for the schools, they say, hey, look, you pay our private school tuition of 20, 30, 40, whatever thousands of dollars it is per year. And after school, you have this suite of programs you can participate in that we help collect and generate. So I remember there was, I kind of felt like you could bring the class to the school, and it was so convenient for the parents. Instead of the parents having to pick up the kids at 3 o'clock when school's done, the kids would go from 3, they'd walk or be escorted to the class at 3:15, and then the class would go 3:15 to 4:15. You only taught 1 class. And then at 4:15, you pick up your kid, and they did something cool. They did an art class, robotics, drama, and cooking, whatever it was. And I thought, like, I could take these Lego robotic sets and put it in a big old bucket and just put it in my car, drive to the school, teach the class, and go home. And I did, and I worked, and I did everything. I created the curriculum for the Lego robotics class. I actually gave the Lego robotics class a bit of a fun spy theme because I love James Bond. So I was not Eric, I was Supreme Commander E, and we were fighting this evil villain known as Professor Snotrocket, and we were building robots to save the world, and there was like a story attached to each one. I'm a writer, I guess, so storytelling kind of came into it. It was really fun too, the secret agent theme. And the robots were really cool. I'm a huge fan of these sets. And I would create the curriculum, I would teach the class, I would create the flyer to market it, and I would just be paid, I don't know, I think I was paid like $60, $70 for that 1 hour class. And mind you, this also, I had to drive to the school, arrive early, set up, teach, clean up, and go home. So it was about 3-ish hours in total. And I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, this company is charging $20 a student, and I did everything. And I just thought, as most entrepreneurs do, like, what if I just did it for me? So I'm like, you know what? Okay, I don't want to compete with Lego Robotics, so I'll do something else. I'll do that cooking thing. So I started cooking Italiano for kids. To start a business, this was early 2010. I kind of had this, basically you have to register your name in the local paper, and that's how you officially start a business. It's not a corporation, it's called, I forget what it's called, but it's just like you starting something, very easy. And you complete this action, costs a couple $100. Then you can go to a bank and you have an account, and then you can start an account, and now you're running a business and you have a bank account. So you can put money in it and people can pay you. So I did this on the side, and I was so nervous to go solo. I was like, oh my gosh, is this bad? But you know what? In California, you could literally work for McDonald's and open up a hamburger stand next door, and they can't really sue you or do anything. It's a very different state. And people who worked with me have started many cooking classes. I don't care. Go ahead, have fun, good luck. It's very difficult to scale and grow like I've done. And I had to build a website. I went to Weebly.com, which is a very simple web tool, and made the website and put up the website, Cooking Italiano for Kids, which is a great name actually, because it says exactly what the name is. We rebranded later to Lift Enrichment, but looking back, Cooking Italiano for Kids is much better because it says exactly what we do. And I told the Idea Studio, hey, I'm not gonna do this anymore, I'm gonna do my own thing. And I just started. So what I did was I made a brochure. I hired a graphic designer for $100 online. We made a brochure, I printed it, and then I just went to schools. And I already had connections at these private schools, so they already knew me, they liked me, and they trusted me. So this was February 2010, and I got my first client in the fall of 2010. The September session is when it started. And guess what I did, guys? I just called. I picked up the phone from my apartment and called schools. And there was hundreds of private elementary schools throughout Los Angeles. And guess what? If you call them and you pitch them this thing, which is basically, it's no risk to you, I will do all the work, and I will create a flyer and I will promote it, and then I get paid every kid that signs up. And if I get 8 kids, then I don't make much money. If I get 20 kids, which was our maximum, then it's good margins and you get paid too. So it's literally no risk. I take on everything. It's a good pitch. And I was able to book a very high-end private school in the San Fernando Valley. This school was, it's called the Buckley School. And they have these, it was so amazing. This school was in the mountains, deers would walk through it. And that was my first client where I started with Cooking Italiano for Kids. And then after that was a success. And then in the winter session, January, I brought in a lot of my other clients. Again, I already had the relationship, so it was quite nice. And there's a bit of a lesson there that I kind of try to emphasize with people starting a business is don't start a business in something you don't know. I'd been working in after-school education for over a year. I had experience, I had contacts, I had a bit of a resume. So don't go into something crazy in left field for your first business. Do something you're super familiar with, you're already involved with, even your most recent jobs. And so I started this company, and guess what? My first class, I sold out. So 20 kids, $20 each, because the parents would sign up for they'd pay $250. I'd keep 20, the school would get 5. So every 1 hour class, 20 times 20, I would make $400. And I spent about $30 on ingredients after, not counting the cost of the kit and everything else. And obviously, I always tried to be efficient. I wanted to, spend the amount I needed and not more. I wanted to buy paper goods in bulk, so I wasn't buying them all the time because those cut my margins. But I'm 25 years old. It's 2010, and I'm teaching a 1 hour cooking class. It took about 3.5 hours to actually fully execute, and with the shopping, and earning $370. And honestly, that was a lot of money at the time. And I had my mornings free, and I worked in the afternoon, and it was such a cool job. I got to tell people, yeah, I run my own company and I teach cooking class to kids. And I loved it. I was very good at it. The kids liked it. I connected with them so much. Now they're what's crazy is nowadays all those kids that were kindergarten are now 20 something, graduated college working. But hey, Chef Eric helped them out, helped them learn back in the day. So that's when it started, and by 2011, I had kind of maximized the amount of time I could work. I could only teach 5 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So this meant if I wanted to grow and scale, I had to hire other people. But that's not for this video. This video is literally about the beginnings, the origins of Lyft Enrichment. Maybe I'll make another video from how we went from $0 to $1 million in revenue in 13 years and went through COVID, a lot of stuff, and then we scaled from 1 to 10 million quite quickly afterwards. But that is a story for another day. For now, I'm gonna leave it here. I do have a community. If you like this video, I release private videos on my school channel, skol.com/Eric Horowitz. It's a free community. I have nothing to sell you. I don't want to sell you anything. It's purely to just give back. And I released a really good video reviewing every month what I learned in business, in life, lessons, business, personal, travel, everything. I dropped like a 20-minute video on that. And the main sell is I have a free SOP on how I scaled my company that my sales team uses. So it's the SOP my remote sales would use to generate millions of dollars. So go check that out. Link is below. Hope you enjoyed this video. And if you like it, go check out the school, and we'll see you next time.